Funding for this program is provided by the Gruber Family Foundation, the Dick Goldenson Fund, and by the members of KQED.
They face combat in Iraq and Afghanistan and come home to find other battles.
I would try to blend in with the other homeless people.
Someone should never sign up to defend their country and have to experience a sexual assault.
Plus, a community college program that helps veterans transition to civilian life.
Every place should have something like this.
The stories of California veterans on life after war. Hello and welcome. I'm Scott Schaefer. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have exposed U.S. troops to grueling conditions: 130-degree heat, hostile terrain, an enemy that isn't always visible. For many of the 2.5 million veterans of the post-9/11 conflicts, returning home to civilian life can be a battle as well. Tonight, we examine some of the challenges California's veterans face in life after war. Our first story takes us to Skid Row in Los Angeles. The experience of one former service member reveals a theme that's all too common. The trauma of sexual assault while serving in the military makes the transition home even harder. Mimi Chakarova with the Center for Investigative Reporting has our story.
Lessons to be learned for everyone.
I haven't been to Skid Row in 9 years, and just to go back down there, I've never had a reason to.
Renee Benton grew up in the suburbs of LA. Her parents were middle class and strict. At age 22, Renee joined the Air Force. During her 4 years in the military, Renee says she was sexually assaulted. After a slow and gradual descent, Renee ended up on LA's Skid Row, homeless, addicted to crack cocaine.
My prayer is to be able to understand where I've been and where I am now.
There are 1.8 million women vets in the U.S. today. More than 3,000 of them are homeless, making women veterans the fastest growing segment of the homeless population in the United States. How has this happened? This is their story.
We're going to be venturing into the war zone, where it all kind of went wrong for me.
I actually spent 10 to 12 years right here, and I'd search these four corners of 5th and Main to see who was going to have the best dope that day and who I could get the best deal with. How you doing?
How you doing, girl?
I'm good, I'm good.
Where you at now?
Renee did what she had to do to feed her habit and survive on the street.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
So actually, that was one of my tricks.
Renee finally found her way to the VA. She enrolled in rehab. She's been clean for 9 years.
Your sponsor has to have working knowledge of whatever book you're going into, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Today, Renee runs the very same treatment center that helped her get back on her feet. New Directions Women's Program is supported by the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's the first in the U.S. designed specifically for women veterans recovering from homelessness and addiction.
Okay, you know what I actually want you to do?
Renee not only directs the program, she counsels women in crisis, drawing upon her own experiences.
Something has clicked that's like, maybe I do need to hang out here a little bit longer.
But as Renee admits, the first challenge can be the hardest.
So what's your preference for treatment?
Finding the women veterans who need help.
It is the million-dollar question. Where are the female vets? You know, everybody is looking for them. And when you come to these places, it's almost like they're in hiding.
But Renee knows they're out there, and she, like others who run programs to help homeless vets, know exactly why these women stay invisible.
Young females on the street who are homeless, they're targeted. The homelessness world is not a safe world, so females, by design and out of survival need, have to sort of remain in the shadows and unseen.
I kept myself secluded. I would try to blend in with the other homeless people. It was just very frightening. You know, I'm so glad that I survived it.
After several months of homelessness, Corey reached out to the VA. She grew up in Compton, California. When Corey turned 18, she joined the Air Force. She was deployed to Saudi Arabia, where she provided armed security on an air base.
I carried the M16, M9, M203, and also the 60 machine gun. I miss those weapons.
After military service, Corey returned to Compton. Things started to fall apart.
I wasn't able to adjust to civilian life. It was just too hard for me. Not knowing where the next meal was going to come from. It makes one very emotional. It's sad. That's a sad life.
They may have some very, very highly skilled expertise in the military, but oftentimes it is not transferable to the commercial job market. I couldn't imagine how difficult it is to fix a tank, but if that's the only thing I know how to do, it's going to be hard for me to find a job, especially if I went into the military when I was 18, right out of high school. So a soldier will process out of the military formally. If they've had no strong support network, they get behind on rent and a couple of bills, and the next thing you know, they're under an immediate crush, deciding whether or not to do what many of them believe will be a short-term stint of homelessness while they get themselves together. That short-term stint is quicksand.
I think there was very few, very small factors that could have led me in either direction. I was already drinking a lot. I was already running out of money. I wasn't doing anything but sleeping and...
Mayra is the daughter of Mexican immigrants. She joined the Marines against her family's wishes. Mayra served in a combat unit in Iraq. Like many others, she returned home with PTSD.
I felt lost. I felt like the only reason I'm going through this is because I'm a woman, and that just proves, you know, that we shouldn't be in the military, and I can't live up to those expectations, and, you know, like of course she's gonna go get help. She's a woman, she needs to get help. It took me about a year to start getting help.
This program is going to force you to be responsible, or you're going to choose not to be.
Once women veterans enroll in Renee's program, the process of healing can begin.
Problems, fear.
These days, women are entering Renee's program with more than addiction and PTSD. Many come with trauma the military has only recently acknowledged. Military sexual trauma.
My supervisor, he felt like he could take advantage of me because I was young. At times he would come by and he would have sex with me while we would be out on the dunes.
For a lot of women, the service is not safe. If you send somebody over to Afghanistan and Iraq, which isn't a safe place, at least they should be safe on the other side of the wire, where they are, you know, we're in the green zone, so to speak. But they get harmed there too, and that's not fair.
The VA and the Pentagon estimate that 1 in 5 women veterans have experienced military sexual trauma. But many in the field insist the toll is even higher.
About 75% of clients that we see have experienced military sexual trauma.
Women veterans who were assaulted in the military are 4 times more likely to develop PTSD. And many of these women wind up on the street, no longer thinking of themselves as someone who served their country.
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you're walking the streets, either trying to get money or find dope. All that mattered was getting your drug and staying high for as long as you could on a daily basis, year-round. That was my life. And I was okay with that.
Renee joined the armed forces to leave home, to serve her country. Skid Row interrupted those dreams.
When I was living here, I only felt a part of the world of addiction. This visit is a turning point for me. It's what I needed to experience, just to see, 1, I don't fit in here. 2, I'm not welcome here. But 3, I'm a person who made it out. Wow. This is cool. This is cool. It's exciting.
And Renee's story has opened the door for others who've been silent for years, fighting a war within.
Just keep looking up, girls.
Renee Banton has drawn on inner strength and community resources to get back on her feet. I wanted to learn more about what's being done to help women and men who go to war and suffer sexual assault from someone they were trained to trust. I sat down with Dr. Caitlin Hasser, who directs the Women's Clinic at the San Francisco VA, to hear what it takes to overcome the psychological wounds of war.
Here at Fort Miley in San Francisco, the Veterans Affairs Medical Center overlooks the Pacific Ocean. Veterans come for medical care, substance abuse treatment, or physical therapy for injuries sustained in combat.
How much pain are you having right now?
Minimal. The center also treats men and women for the trauma of sexual assault. Dr. Caitlin Hasser specializes in counseling veterans who were raped while in the armed forces, often by a member of their own unit. The Pentagon recently reported that an estimated 26,000 service members were sexually assaulted last year. Before our conversation, I showed Dr. Hasser a clip from Renee Banton's interview.
Today, Renee runs the very same treatment center that helped her get back on her feet.
Force you to be responsible, or you're going to choose not to be.
How common is it for someone who experiences military sexual trauma to have that slide into homelessness and drug abuse?
I think that's a really good question. Military sexual trauma is a stressor that happens to somebody, and an individual's response to that is going to vary based on a number of factors. So was this a one-time incident that happened, or is this something that happened multiple times?
What difference does that make?
Repeated trauma exposure is going to be more likely to result in more significant mental health and other outcomes. And other factors also go into this. What was the relationship like with the perpetrator of the violence? Was this somebody that was known to them? Was this someone that was in their command structure? Was this someone that was a peer? Or was this a stranger? And we know in the military sexual trauma, it is more likely going to be perpetrated by somebody that is known to the individual and more likely by someone within the command structure.
And so how does that play into the impact on the person and their ability to either report it or get beyond it or, get the help they need?
One of the things that comes up, within the military, the culture is around really loyalty, and you put the needs of your fellow brothers and sisters at arms above your own needs, and a sense of unit cohesion, and a sense of needing to respect authority. All of these values that are taught during basic training that are helpful for survival in combat end up feeling like an extreme sense of betrayal. So it's almost like a family member is going against the trust that you place in them. And then there's this concern around, well, if I report, will I be believed?
Why would they feel they might not be believed?
There are a number of things that can happen. They are told, well, you don't really want to ruin so-and-so's career. So-and-so's a good soldier, and if you bring this forward, it's really going to damage the unit. And a lot of times the survivor is really feeling caught choosing between their career, which often people have a very strong commitment to their military career and choosing between seeking justice for what has occurred.
And when you look at the raw numbers of military sexual trauma that happen, I think at least half of the victims are men, mostly because the military is mostly men.
The vast majority of perpetrators are male. So if there is male-on-male sexual violence that happens, there can be a lot of other factors that can come up for someone around ideas around sexuality, sexual orientation, particularly because in the military, until very recently, issues of sexual orientation were under the rug, so to speak. And a man who has survived sexual violence might feel even more isolated because it isn't brought up as often in the news or in other arenas, and so they might feel even more alone.
So when you take all these things into consideration, what kind of treatment works?
We really want to work with an individual to figure out how is this getting in the way of you being able to live a full, meaningful life with love and work. It can impact relationships because of difficulty with intimacy and feeling comfortable. And people can have health consequences also, like chronic pain that is related to an injury that they sustained at the time of the trauma and needing to get treatment related to the chronic pain. And then a number of other mental health diagnoses like post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorders, depression, eating disorders. So when someone comes in for treatment, we do a really careful evaluation about the way that the traumatic event is impacting them today. With treatment, there is a lot of hope for recovery.
Obviously, as a psychiatrist, there's only so much that you can do to change a big system. But if you could change one thing about all of this, what would it be?
Someone should never sign up to defend their country and have to experience a sexual assault. Combat is actually something that every individual that signs up for the service knows that they might be in harm's way when fighting an enemy. No one enters the military assuming that they're going to have a sexual assault as part of their work.
Nor should they have to.
Nor should they have to.
Dr. Hesser, thank you so much for helping us understand this.
Thank you.
Many veterans are eager to get on with their lives. More than 1 million Iraq and Afghanistan vets currently use the GI Bill to pursue a college degree. But often, combat injuries and PTSD make it tough to transition from the battlefield to the classroom. One community college program offers a simple solution. Aaron Glantz with the Center for Investigative Reporting has that story.
Color, present, arms.
Danny Acree signed up to be a cook in the U.S. Army.
Left wheel.
Within weeks, he was deployed to Iraq.
I was about 17 when the atrocities of 9/11 happened, and that really affected me, and I wanted to actually make some change.
He was reassigned as a machine gunner, running convoys from Saddam Hussein's hometown of Tikrit.
A lieutenant comes up to me and says, "Hey, Private Acree, you ever fired a 50 cal machine gun before?" "No, sir." I was like, "You better learn."
When he returned from his tour, his mother Lucy saw he had changed.
This is a picture of that first hug, that first embrace, and I looked in his eyes and I thought, oh my God, his eyes are now the eyes of an old man.
If anyone would ever get near me when I was sleeping, I was so on high alert that I would swing.
I was waking him up and he wanted to put a move on me to protect himself from, and then he had dreams. We watched them fairly closely, I think.
He had quite a few episodes of
where he saved the family from attack.
Acree held a series of odd jobs after leaving the Army. 7 years passed before he decided to get a fresh start at City College of San Francisco. But one day in English class, the war came flooding back.
Some things were brought up, in particular of a little boy who I knew, an Iraqi child, that had died, and I couldn't sit in class anymore. I had to leave. The panic, the heart palpitating, with all the different memories coming back, I just couldn't go on.
Acree didn't have to go far for help. Within minutes, he was talking with a therapist at the on-campus clinic run by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
I went in, spoke to one of their counselors, and he just listened, had me talk it out, calmed me down, and I don't know what I would have done without him. I mean, I was kind of in panic mode.
When it opened in 2010, the clinic at City College marked the first time that the national agency charged with helping veterans had ever offered health care on a college campus. A simple solution, but one that can be life-saving.
We want to make it as easy as possible for veterans to receive services.
You got a second?
Come on in, have a seat.
Keith Armstrong runs the VA clinic at City College.
What we know about veterans, especially veterans that are coming home from war and that have symptoms consistent with post-traumatic stress, is that they may be avoidant around getting help.
A young kid came up and said, "Hey, I heard you were in the military." Yeah. It's like, how many people did you kill over there? Oh, man, come on.
So how'd you handle it?
Well, very politely I said, no one today.
Senior VA officials have praised the clinic at City College. Secretary of Veterans Affairs Eric Shinseki has toured the country, urging colleges to do more to help veterans.
Importantly, they must graduate. Otherwise, there's no payoff to them, to any of your institutions, or to the American people who have underwritten this most generous of education programs.
But the VA has been slow to build on the success of its City College clinic. In May, the nonpartisan Government Accountability Office issued a report saying the agency isn't doing enough to back up its $10 billion investment in veterans education. The report said that colleges were working without any guidance or assistance from the VA. And the Center for Investigative Reporting found that at 150 colleges with the largest numbers of Iraq and Afghanistan veteran students, the VA provides services at just 4.
It's not an expensive program. Initially, it's a challenging program to get set up because it involves the VA doing something with another bureaucracy.
3 years on, the program remains in the pilot stage, with no plan for a major national rollout. A VA spokesman told us the agency is still gathering data on best practices. Here at City College, it was the football coach, George Rush, who saw a need.
For this campus, the commitment was these people have made the greatest sacrifices and as such deserve the most attention, and they're going to get it here.
Coach Rush comes from a military family. He and other campus leaders enlisted help from the private sector and local trade unions.
Prior to where we are today, it was very uninviting. You had to stand in a hallway. It was one person coming in office at a time. There were no chairs. It was very, very upsetting if I was a veteran coming back and thinking I had my life on the line and the things that I'd gone through, and I was standing like a kindergartner in a line, waiting to see somebody.
The Veterans Resource Center has made City College a destination for younger veterans across the region. Iraq War veteran Andre Rogers is president of the Veterans Alliance.
When I'm hanging out, I'm making sure everybody's safe, comfortable, and they're getting, what they need.
Every weekday, Rogers drives past 6 other community colleges on his way to San Francisco. City College may be fighting for its accreditation, but it is the only school where he can get counseling for the flashbacks that still occasionally plague him during class. As important as the counseling is the lounge itself, says Rogers.
Whether it's medical benefits, disability compensation, their classes, any problems that they have, they can come to me, or I just walk around and ask them, how you doing? Is there anything you need?
Marine Corps veteran Edwin Del Rio is studying to be a mechanical engineer. Earlier this spring, he was struggling. He stopped going to class.
You called the suicide hotline, so were you thinking about it at that point?
Yes, I was.
What were you thinking about doing?
Cutting my wrists.
In Afghanistan, Del Rio came upon a family, including 2 small children, that had been shot by the Taliban. Here at the Veterans Lounge, he's been able to talk with others about his experience and learn that he is not alone.
We all slept together in the same tents, in the same camp, went on the same patrols, experienced the same hardships. And so we knew the problems that each of us might face, and we were family.
Before he enrolled at City College, Daniel Acree was searching for a sense of belonging. He joined the reserves. Acree says the community and services at City College have helped him turn the page to the next phase of his life.
I started going to school here, and it just took on a whole different persona. I started getting really good grades. I started thinking maybe I can go to a really good university.
Acree hopes to transfer to UC Berkeley, and he wants more veterans to get the kind of help that he's had.
Every institution, I don't care if you've got 1,300 vets like we do or 30 vets, every place should have something like this to turn to, because who knows, one of these veterans, they might have it worse than how I had it in class, and maybe they won't get the help they need in time.
Services like the ones we've just seen only begin to acknowledge the extraordinary sacrifices veterans have made. Our coverage continues online at kqed.org/lifeafterwar. I'm Scott Schaefer. Thanks for watching.
Mark time, march. Forward, march.
Funding for this program was provided by the Gruber Family Foundation, the Dick Goldenson Fund, and by the members of KQED.